Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Scrum Down NBC Sports Rugby Podcast. I am your host with the most, Alex Corbisiero, and it is great to be back, everyone. Lots to talk about. Rugby World Cup is heating up in New Zealand. We'll get onto that later in the episode, but right now I want to talk about Premiership Rugby. Absolutely sizzling hot on-field product at the moment. Another exciting round of games across the league as you look at the results. Sale Sharks winning against London Irish was close for a little while, but they really pulled away. They are 5-0 and in a really good position, using their physicality, using that pack. Alex Carnason's DNA all over that team. They're one to look out for. Exeter Chiefs and Wasps, their game was cancelled as the pod sort of unfolded last week. More negative news was coming out of Wasps, and now as they have gone into administration, it was inevitable. Their games have been cancelled from the Premiership. Gloucester Rugby and Bristol Bears were in an absolute shootout, with Gloucester Rugby nudging it at the depth with a penalty, winning 31-28. Then you had Northampton Saints and Newcastle Falcons in another shootout. Late winner for Saints there. They edged that one 32-31. And then another cracking game, Saracens taking on Bath Rugby. Saracens are 5-0 with 5 bonus points, really playing some incredible attacking rugby, taking their sort of game to another level there. And then Bath Rugby, much better performance than them, really boosted by the impact of Ollie Lawrence out there. I think he accounted for almost half of the meters of Bath total carrying meters in that game, but Saracens had just enough to hold that one out. And then Harlequins Leicester, another good game. There's just so much action across the Premiership. 27-19, Leicester Tigers getting the W there. That sort of stops their losing streak of 2, back to winning ways for them. And as we look at the table, there they are, Saracens at the top, Sale just behind with 1 less bonus point on 24. Exeter Chiefs still going pretty strong there, only losing 1 game. And after that, the pack starts to drift away a little bit, with no one really having more than 3 wins across the table. But really, that's as much as you want to get into all the Premiership Rugby action at the moment. It's all really to do with what's going on off the field. It's scorching hot rugby on the field. It's crumbling at the foundations off of it. The business model is broken, as we talked last week on the show with Worcester and Wasps with Alex Lowe. You know, as the week unfolded last week, it just started to get worse and worse for Wasps. More rumblings coming out that they were impending to go into administration. The game, as we just mentioned, was cancelled against Exeter Chiefs, and as of today, Monday the 17th of October, they have entered into administration. 167 people have been made redundant. Really sad to see all the players, all the staff, everyone affected poorly. And this looks like it could be the potential end of, one of the bigger flagship clubs in the Premiership and across European rugby. Historically, the Wasp brand is very strong. Where do they go from now? There was rumours over the weekend reported in the rugby paper that there's a potential merger with London Irish and Wasps. That was refuted strongly by London Irish, but there are starting to be rumblings, and I don't know the truth or the validity of them yet, and it's probably going to be wait and see, and I'm sure we'll have Alex Lowe back on the pod soon to talk, but starting to hear murmurs of London Irish in some sort of potential financial trouble as well. Mick Crossan, the owner, has been having the club up for sale since September. He would like to sell his shares to someone who could guarantee the future of the club going forward financially. That's never a good sign, but fingers crossed for London Irish. So much, as we talked about with Jonathan Fisher, going well for them at the moment. Brentford Stadium, on-field product looking good. They had a tough game against Sale, but this would be, heartbreaking to see another Premiership club go down. Alex Lowe has been covering this extensively in the Times. He talks about this being the wake-up call that Premiership Rugby, RFU, needed to try and figure out a better plan going forward. There's talks on the table of a 10-team Premiership in the future, with potentially a second-tier Premiership underneath, and revitalising that Championship to a more sustainable model. Talks of centrally contracting England players, restructuring the season. These are all things we talked about on the podcast last week, and now finally unavoidable that change has to happen. People have to start fixing the model, adapting, and we need to find a more sustainable future for the Premiership, because it is just such a conundrum. You've got some of the best rugby it's ever had on the field, but it looks like it's falling apart off the field. Something's got to change. Stay tuned to that. We'll keep covering that loads on the pod. But now it's time to turn our attention to the Rugby World Cup 2021 in New Zealand. We've been covering this across NBC. Every game is live on Peacock TV. The US games have been replaying on CNBC. That is the same this weekend as well. And as we look at the Rugby World Cup, lots to talk about. We have USA 7-star TikTok sensation herself, Ilona Maher, in person on this week's show to go through all of the Rugby World Cup action, looking at the weekend. But before we do that, we want to focus on USA Rugby. We have two of their stars from New Zealand on the show, JoJo Kitlinski and Kate Zackary, the captain, fresh off a victory over Japan as they face a big game coming up against Canada. Let's hear from them now. And we are joined by USA Rugby Eagles from the World Cup in New Zealand, JoJo Kitlinski and Kate Zackary. Welcome to the Scrum Down.
Hello.
Obviously coming in off the back of your first win in the tournament against Japan. What's the mood in the camp after that result?
The mood is great. It was definitely a make or break game. And I think with how we played and executed, I think the spirits are definitely up and a lot of good vibes.
That's awesome. And then like the game itself, it was almost a game of two halves. Like that first half, you got to credit Japan. I think they threw the kitchen sink at you guys, and they were really in the game, and they sort of, stopped you guys firing in attack a little bit. Kate, talk a little bit about the game and how you found it.
Yeah, I mean, all credit to Japan. It was a really great game. Going in, we knew they'd be a difficult competition. They're a well-disciplined team. They're really physical. They're strong over the breakdown. Overall, they're just fantastic rugby players. So going in, we knew it'd be no easy task. The first half was a testament to that. They threw everything at us that they could. They utilized the sun in our face with some kicks and really came after our set piece as well. So going out in the second half, though, we just were very honest with one another, which was we needed a performance. We needed a strong 40 minutes and we needed the win. And the team pulled it off, and it couldn't be more proud about it. Just, again, with the technical abilities at scrum time, drawing a few penalties were key. It allowed us to get a little bit more territory. And then also relying on our kicking game, not just in play, but then also going for points there at the end just to seal a few more points to increase the point differential.
And then I just think in that second half, like the big change was your team's accuracy in attack. In the first game, that first 25 minutes against Italy, tons of possession, tons of territory, but just not really able to get over the whitewash. It's similar themes in that first half, but in that second half, it really started to click. Is there anything that as a team you've highlighted or put that down to that you want to carry into the Canada game?
I'll say, like, in reflection, watching the game, I mean, Gabby Cantorna did a fantastic job guiding the troops in the backfield, putting in her little cheeky chip kicks, which is something that we've been trying to get into our game. It's just been that refinement of getting the right kicking style, getting the right players around the ball. And I think for number one, that was a big piece of the puzzle for us in that game. It allowed us to get in behind. It allowed us to get some of that territory without just having to go through the physical battle sometimes that we may rely on with our forwards. But by doing that, all of a sudden you get that switch in from one side with Bitsy scoring. Then on the other side, you've got JoJo scoring just simply through hands. So it's just that ability to showcase the difference that forwards can be backs can be forwards, and we can kick, we can run, we can do a little bit of it all.
And then let's look back a little bit to that first game against Italy. Coming in, opening game of the World Cup is always a tough one. A lot of pressure, a lot of expectation on all sides. What was your summarizing of that game?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of pressure in the first game. We were preparing for that game, and I think at the end of the day, we just didn't execute like we wanted to. There were moments that we could have gotten over the line. We had some mistakes. We had some penalties, and credit to them, their line-out defense was very good. We couldn't play off that platform because they were there. We lost some of those. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, we knew we needed to clean up some of those areas there and go into this Japan game, which was really big. And I think those little wins of getting the ball to the edge and those chip kicks, like gave us confidence going into the next game against Canada.
How much pressure are you feeling, looking ahead to Canada? It's kind of like a round of 16 knockout game for you. You kind of need to win to make sure that you progress in this tournament. What is the mood?
Yeah, yesterday was a great off day for us. Everyone was able to go spend some time with friends and family that are in the area, which, that's an important part of this as well, as creating those memories and resetting between games. Because the week does become very hard as it goes on. And as you get closer to game day, the pressure does build a little bit. So yesterday, for starters, was just a nice day to reset, step away from it all. We'll travel today. We'll hit the week running. And as far as looking ahead to the weekend goes, I mean, it's another game. It's another team for us. We won't necessarily be looking at it just as if it's Canada, but it is a must-win game. Doesn't matter the results on Saturday. There's all those what ifs. What if this happens? And point differential and that. For us, it's a must-win game. That's our mentality going into it. And doesn't really matter who we're coming up against. They'll bring some skill, they'll bring strength, they'll bring power. They've had a good tournament, but I think we're on a high and we hope to carry that into the game.
And Canada is a team that you know pretty well. You've played them a number of times. What are you expecting from them coming into the game?
Yeah, I think from what we've seen, I mean, their hooker Emily has 5 tries from their driving maul, so we'll definitely expect their line-out mauls, and we'll have to defend that really well. Their set pieces are good. Their kicking's good. They, think, find space and opportunities. If there's penalties, they can play quickly. And it's not a surprise. We've played them a lot. So I think we're going to try to just bring it from the very beginning.
And Kate, what are the key aspects that sort of you're focusing on for your game? Like, what does the US need to do to go out there and get the W?
I think we need to bring to life some of the things you saw on the weekend. So just the confidence in our ability to stretch the ball wide when the opportunity is on. And Canada will give us that opportunity, especially on that kick transition. So a lot of it will be just confidence in moving the ball wide, confidence in finding the short space in between, not just the long kicking space. And then just continuing the trend at scrum time. Canada's going to offer us a different picture, but I do completely back our front row to have a go a few times, maybe draw a few penalties and just make the right choices to get to territory, take points when we need it, get 7 when we need it, and just be really patient, though, with all of this. So, that's, I think, underpins most of our game is finding our patience and then finding the opportunity when we need to get over the whitewash.
And then, seeing Canada get the result against Italy, obviously that was a team that you weren't able to beat. Does that affect the psyche or any of the build-up or the way that you come into this game?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, there's always the what ifs. I think any rugby player feels that sometimes when you see other outcomes in games that you thought you could have maybe won. There's always the what if, but I mean, we're hoping for a 6-game tournament, so we can't actually focus on that Italy game anymore. So, it's all about us going into the weekend. We need to win. And as I mentioned, it doesn't matter how the other pools unfold. We're not looking to be that the 2 third place teams going in. We're looking to seal second in our pool. And that's the job we're here to do.
Talk a little bit about, what it's like being at this Rugby World Cup in New Zealand, the country. Has it been welcoming to you? How have you found the experience so far?
I'm gonna let JoJo take it because it's her first World Cup.
Okay. Yeah, it's my first World Cup. I think it's honestly everything and more than what I expected. Being in a rugby country, we have people here in Tutukaka. It's a small town, just on the street, basically telling us, great game. We were at the game or we watched the game. You just wouldn't see that other places. So it's been really great. Everyone's so welcoming. We're really lucky just to be in this really small town where everyone's embraced us and supports us. So far it's been really great.
And then Kate, you've been to World Cups before. How does this one compare to others? And to me, it seems like it's bigger and better and the biggest stage that the women's game has been able to have, and the exposure and just sort of the collectiveness of the country, but also the sport behind the whole competition. It seems like a great World Cup so far.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Just last week as well, I was talking to Jamie Burke and just kind of looking back at some of the other World Cups, the amount of players, how the roster sizes changed, was it pay to play model? Was it this? So, I mean, as you see the legacy of the World Cup grow, I mean, this definitely is the biggest it's ever been. 2017 was amazing, but even the little details with the game not being live streamed, even in the States, not a single match, whereas now we've got the game being live, we've got the game being replayed. There's multiple opportunities to watch it for fans back at home, and in similar countries as well. We're not the only countries had that. So having the live streams available, not even just in New Zealand, but elsewhere in the world, having multiple stadiums throughout the country of New Zealand really helps, I think, engulf the whole community. It gets people out in the stands, no matter which stadium you're at, no matter what team you are, there's someone there to watch the game. And just overall the media attention, there's a lot of buzz around it. I mean, I've done a few interviews with people from literally all over the world who are just interested in growing the women's game. So I think truthfully, it is one of the fastest growing sports now for women. And it's great to see all the attention and media buzz around it this year.
It's great to see. And I think for some of the people listening or watching on this pod, they won't quite be able to know or appreciate, the level of commitment that you and your teammates have done in the build up to this World Cup. Obviously, after the Italy game, we heard you touch a little bit on how, that they'd been almost professionalized and the impact that it had. You and your teammates haven't been able to cross that barrier yet, but how much of a commitment and sort of an all-in vibe have you all got as a team and a collective?
I mean, everyone's completely into it. We've had so many girls that have gone overseas to play. We have girls who have moved in America to play for different WPL teams. So we've got everyone right there moving to just to even find the best rugby possible that they can. And then within that, your next layers, we've got folks that are working still full time. JoJo's a great example of that. She works like tirelessly on her job for the last few years to secure as much PTO as possial, just so she could finally, for the first time since this whole cycles began, take this whole month off from work. But that comes from not taking PTO at Pac 4 or at camps and things. That's working late nights, early mornings. I mean, you've taken calls at like 4 a.m, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just those details are really exhausting, but then to also train for 5-6 hours a day and study up on line out scrums, the opposition and things. So, it's been tough. It has been. We've missed holidays as well with family for those of us who've gone to the UK. So this is that culmination of it all. And I couldn't be more proud of how the results are coming along. And I think that'll be some of the motivation going into Canada as well.
And then, both of you played in the UK in the Premier 15s this year. How big a step up was that for you, and how valuable sort of an experience it was for you to be in this position now with the United States?
Yeah, I think it's super valuable because we're in this competitive environment weekend after weekend having games. You just don't get that in the WPL. It's a 3-month season, and with the level of play that's out there, it's like basically a national championship every weekend, it feels like. So you get used to just grinding it out each weekend. It makes the World Cup a little bit more manageable, I think, because we're a little used to how that feels getting into game 3, whereas before, 3 games in a row, like 3 hard games, our bodies would just be tired. So I think that allows us to just experience that. The level of play is really high, and just that environment is really great to prep for the World Cup. So I think it was really useful to go there.
And then lastly, Kate, just touch on a little bit of what it means to play for your country at a World Cup and represent the United States and your friends and family and all the people that have helped you along the way on your rugby journey.
Yeah, it's been a cool experience this time around, especially just all the messages I've been receiving from everyone I went to college with and played soccer with when, I was a little soccer player through university before rugby, the friends I've made through rugby since I picked it up in 2013, reaching out and things. Like, it's just really cool, the community and the support and how everyone's really gotten behind not only me, but the team. We've transformed a lot of soccer fans into rugby fans, I'll say that much. But it's been a huge honor. And this actually just these last 2 weeks, all my siblings were here and my mom and stuff like that. So that was cool for them to attend a jersey ceremony for the first time ever. Not just any jersey ceremony, but one at a World Cup. So it's been great carrying that. You could call it that weight, but it's actually like a very motivational weight to represent them and to represent America and to carry along that torch with my teammates as well.
Oh, that's awesome. For JoJo, for Kate, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Wishing you all the luck in the world this weekend against Canada, live on Peacock and replaying on CNBC. Thanks again.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
So good to get both of them on the show. Great to get insight from on the ground in New Zealand, but it's time to look at the tournament on a whole. And for that, we have USA Sevens and TikTok sensation Ilona Maher to go through it all. And we are joined by USA Rugby Olympian Ilona Maher. Welcome back to the Scrum Down, Ilona.
Thank you. Happy to be here in person.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I always love the in-person interview, so thanks for making time for that as well. And obviously here to talk Rugby World Cup New Zealand 2021 and just get your opening thoughts of what you thought of the competition so far.
Yeah, I don't know if I've watched a single game without crying. It is so inspirational and so motivational to me right now. All the games have been fantastic to see the support out there for the girls in New Zealand. This is really monumental, I think, and it's just continuing to grow the game every game they play.
And that's my question, is how big a stage is this for the women's game? From World Cup to World Cup, this is such a big step forward for me from 2017. And just the recognition it's getting around the world, as well as the exposure on TV, I think it's putting women's rugby 15s at its all-time high.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's just a great platform, and New Zealand's doing a great job of putting it out there, and World Rugby are doing a great job of getting people who aren't into rugby to notice it as well. And I'm doing whatever I can to get people to notice it. But I just think that each World Cup, it's going to continue to gain more and more momentum. Even from Ireland, I've seen differences now in this World Cup. And I think from this World Cup to the next one being in England, it's just so cool to see the growth of it every year.
I agree. The metrics, the visibility is growing, but also the on-field rugby. They're good games. It's very exciting, a lot of entertaining rugby, some really close finishes. You're not disappointed watching this World Cup.
Absolutely. I think that's so cool is that, people think, oh, it's women versus men's rugby. But watching this game is entertaining. Doesn't matter who you are. And seeing how much the game has evolved and the competition has just improved. We were just talking about the kicks with Zoe Harrison on England. The way she's booting it down the field, it's just impressive.
I agree. And we'll get on to England as well, because some of their detail, I think, has been exceptional.
Yeah.
In this tournament. But my last question before we get into the pools is going to be, do you wish you were out there playing? Is it hard just watching?
Yeah, sometimes I'm just sitting on my couch. I'm eating chips or something, watching them play. And I'm I could have done that. So it's definitely hard, but it's just so cool to see them still doing it. I'll still be out there, and I can't wait to go out and just cheer them on, cheer on my USA team, but also just to see that game in person. I think it's going to be a different vibe to it. So sad I'm not playing, but it doesn't make a difference. It's so awesome.
So if you did play at this World Cup, you played, I think, was it last autumn or the autumn before you played for the 15s? You played on the wing. Do you think wing would still be your position?
I'm going to be honest. I don't think wing is me. I think for me, I can play wing. I think some people just put me as wing because, okay, she can run and she can kind of fend people off. But I think I can do a little bit more than that. I played center throughout college, which I love. But I'm going to be honest. I really want to get into the back row or be an 8-man or a flank. You can see it.
You read my mind. You can read my mind. I see Ilona number 8 in 15s written all over it.
100%.
I think wasted on the wing. I think your pace, size, height for the line out, all-round handling, link play. I think that to me is the move.
I think for me, I just love, the amount of work forwards do that we don't get credit for, but the way that you can just get the ball and you can just bash it in, that's something I would love to do at the time. So, I'm thinking I would love to go play in the Premiership sometime. So if you know any hookups who want an 8-man who's never played before.
You heard it here first. Ilona Maher is ready for the 15 games in England. I'm sure there'll be a few coaches. Scrum Down's well listened. UK. Shout out everyone here in the UK listening and watching. Appreciate you all and all the support. All right, but now it is time to get into the pool play and the discussion. Let's get into some of the nitty gritty, Ilona.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
All right, Lo, we're going to start with Pool A. Pool A has New Zealand, Australia, Wales, and Scotland. In that order is the way they're sitting in the group right now. New Zealand looking pretty on 10 points. But second place this weekend is all to play for with Australia and Wales. New Zealand had another dominant performance against Wales. Their first game against Australia, they weathered some adversity, but then they got back into the game and really ran away with it. So I'd like to say we'll talk about New Zealand after this, but Australia and Wales, what are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, the Wales-Scotland game was a nail-biter there, and I think it's so cool to see that Wales now has their full contracts, and I mean, the work that they are putting in and the performances they are putting on the field are just so cool to see now. So that's going to be a big game, but those teams like Australia, Scotland, and Wales are all pretty evenly matched throughout. I mean, the Australia-Scotland game recently was also very close. So it's just cool to see there's, very similar play. We're not seeing a lot of just absolute shutouts. So, 100 points to nothing. Like, we're going head-to-head, try for try.
And I think, my heart breaks for Scotland in this pool, losing last play of the game, 84th minute to Wales, like you said, and then losing right at the depth to Australia. That game went back and forward and could have gone either way. It really sets up that game. If I'm looking, I think Australia are going to have a shot against Wales, but where Wales will look strong is in the forwards. Like, their scrum was mincing New Zealand on the weekend. Like, in a tight game when you're evenly matched, if you have a lopsided sort of set piece advantage, it kind of skews the percentages into your favor, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on that one there. If we look at Pool B, that is obviously the United States pool. And, this is where we'll probably spend the most time of the pod on. Really, it's Canada who are in the driving seat. 2 wins, beating Italy on the weekend. That's a big shout, especially with the US falling to Italy. They're pretty much safe and set going into the quarterfinals. It's really going to come down to how the US can play in this game on the weekend against Canada. But before we get to that, what did you make of their win against Japan?
Oh, I mean, that was super exciting to watch. From the beginning, it was a little stressful, I will say. I mean, the way that I think Japan really used that weak side, I don't know what film they'd been watching before of us, but they were like, all right, we're going to exploit them on their weak side and see if they're not going to fold around. And I mean, they showed that clip scoring off the maul, I think like 20 times because they were so quick. And what's so good about Japan is they might not have the size, but they have the skill and the execution, and they will play their hearts out. So that was a great game, but I just thought that in that game, Gabby Cantorna and her kicks were just on. Janine on the wing was just the powerful run she was doing. So it was cool to see us pull that out a little bit, but again, making some mistakes that could lead to a serious loss against Canada.
I agree. There's positives and negatives. That first half had more warning signs on it for me, like we had in the game against Italy. They had, the difference was in Italy game, they had possession early on. They had opportunities, they just couldn't score them.
Yeah.
In the Japan game, they just couldn't hold on to the ball. Like, anytime they had the ball, they knocked it on. Anytime Japan attacked, a lot of times they gave away a penalty, which then Japan kicked to their 22, then put pressure, camped the game on. I think the one thing you have to really give them credit for in that first half is that they didn't breach. Like, it was only 5-3, and it wasn't, Japan up by 2 scores as such. So I think they did well there. In the second half, it just started to get more fluidity. The error count went down. I think the change at 9 eventually made a big difference because I just felt that the 9 who started was getting caught at the breakdown over and over again by the defense, taking an extra step. And I think when that change happened, they just started to hold on to the ball more time on the ball. And then you see the X factor in some of the runners. Alev started to stand up. Obviously, Gabby Contana, her kicking game, the grubber through was absolutely money for the try. Like, it was actually the best I've seen that team play probably, since ever. You'd say that's probably one of their best 40 minutes of rugby on a whole. It was actually very clinical, 27 points as well. Like, if they can pull that out against Canada, they have a chance. But if they don't turn up, like, Canada are ruthless. They smashed Japan, who weren't up on the money that day.
Yeah, 100%. I think Canada is clinical too. And I mean, I got to play them recently in the fall, and just the way that they do things so well, and they're there to play. So it's been fun to watch their number 8. I mean, she's been so strong out there on Canada. But I mean, we have to bring in, it's always a rivalry between Canada and USA. I guess I never realized it, but I think we both come to play each other. But we really do have to bring it all up because, I mean, seeding is dependent on this.
Absolutely. And let's talk seeding. Right now, the US are sitting on 5 points, which that bonus point against Japan is a lifeline because even if they lose to Canada and they just get a losing bonus point, mathematically it's not over for them being that one of the 2 best third place teams. But if they get a win against Canada, a draw, anything like that, it pretty much means they're definitely going to the quarterfinals, and then you get to knock out rugby, and then anything can happen,
Absolutely. I mean, I'm gonna be watching, and I'm gonna try to bring some friends out to watch as well because this is it, and I just want to see us in the quarterfinals to see if we can. Because every game we learn more and more, and we just get a little bit better. But we'll see how it goes against Canada. I mean, I'm interested also to watch the Italy-Japan game because Italy, I kind of went into it like, okay, USA, I think we can take on Italy, but Italy as well has some full-time athletes.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way they're playing as well, seeing that inside ball and just stopping us from scoring. So that'll be a good game. If Japan can somehow pull it out against Italy, I mean, that could be cool for us, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, that would be a lifeline for the United States. And you never know, like this World Cup, you know, there's been a few scares where you've been like, oh, is there going to be an upset? But probably those professional sides, I would say, you know, Italy, New Zealand, England, it's that 80-minute game which is really coming to sort of notice for them, is that even when games are closer early on, if you're a professional side and it's just over 80 minutes, like you can't make that up. And that seems to be in that last 20 where those teams are falling apart a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that is a wrap on Pool B. All eyes will be on the USA's game against Canada. Do or die for them in this World Cup. That game is live on Peacock TV in America, 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time, and it re-airs on CNBC at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss that one. Myself and Abby Gustidis will be in studio for it. Will be a good one. But also, if you're in the San Diego area, Lo, you have your own watch party for this game. You're going to be bringing the hype. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I just, I want to bring some people out to show the sport for the girls over there. So I'm having a watch party at like a local bar because I think I want to bring anybody, even if you don't know rugby, come out, have a beer with us and like see what this is about because, you know, you talk to a lot of people, they won't know that the World Cup is happening right now for women. So come out, get to experience this around people who are going to get psyched for everything, who can tell you what a ruck is, who can tell you what this scrum means. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's at the local at 7:15 p.m. Eastern time or Pacific time. And I think it's going to be a ball of a time. We'll see. Maybe no one comes. Who knows?
No, it'll be good, mate. San Diego is in a good place for sport right now. People are all about having a good time, I think. So, no, definitely make sure you check it out if you are in the area. Even if you're far away, drive. Lo will be there. She's a TikTok superstar. She'll bring the hype.
You get to meet me.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, Pool C, Lo. Let's get on to Pool C. This is a heavy-hitting pool.
I don't know who created this pool.
Honestly, mate. Honestly. You know, when you look at it, England standing at the top of the pool, they are, to me, the favourites of this tournament. Like, they're a class above. France really tested them, though, and it was obviously I thought it was a dominant performance from England, but it was such a tight scoreline that it must have been heart-wrenchingly nervous for those players out there. You know, I think it's 27 wins in a row they had. That's probably the closest they've been pushed. And then as you move down, France are a good side. And then, you know, you've got Fiji, who had a big win over South Africa on the weekend. They're sitting there, South Africa on the bottom. But it's really focusing on those top two teams. Those are the teams of the tournament. And what did you make of that game between them?
I mean, that was so cool. I didn't get to watch it live. I saw the score in the morning, but then I'm watching it now, and it's just so cool to see that battle between them because I think they played earlier, and it wasn't too much of a like this. Like, England kind of went away with it, but the way France held them at it, but even with the great kicks from England, and I mean, England had to work for every try they got, which is I don't think they were expecting. They haven't been tested like that by any team recently.
I agree. I think the grit that France showed in the 22 was, was a difference maker. You know, England haven't been nullified like that. Either their maul, their big forward carries, they eventually breached the damn breaches, and France kept holding out. Breakdown turnovers, a few, spilled balls from England, and it was nervous. I think as well, France deserve a lot of credit because, two of their big players came off early injured. Their number 9, who is a game changer for them. And I do think there was a drop off in that position when the replacement came on. And then their number 8, who you played, I think, in sevens as well.
Yep.
She's an absolute beast. And, her and her sister, or a twin sister in the French side. But it was a big loss for her as well coming off. And the fact they stayed in that game, even with those losses, made me quite impressed with France. And just traditionally, not always just in the women's game, but France always have a knack of turning up at World Cups and just finding a way of getting themselves into a final. So you just never know.
100%. Even in sevens, they just know how to do it. But I just am always so impressed by France contact work. The way that even on their own try line, just they were so ready for it. So you think like, oh, England might score here. And then they'd have someone coming in for the side to make a clean hit. They had someone holding it up. I mean, it was just clinical rugby as well from France.
It was. And that's probably one of the higher level of detail female games ever. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, absolutely.
These teams that had so much time together, build up to the World Cup to prepare, their professional setups, they're, between 1 and 2 in the world or 1 and 3 in the world. I loved it. Like, 'cause I'm a detail nose. Like, England's detail is money, but I thought France were resilient as well. There's contests across the board. It was a perfect, as much as we wanted it to be higher scoring, so it's a bit more exciting to a casual fan, it's a perfect sort of advertisement for where the women's game is and where it's going. Like, imagine when we get to the next World Cup.
Yeah, those are one of those games where, again, I think anybody can enjoy watching. If you're a fan of rugby, you'll be a fan of that, and that game will entertain you.
Well, that is a wrap on the Pools Low, and you know we love to do this on the Scrum Down. We love to put people on the spot. So you know, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Who are you picking? Remember, the cameras are rolling, so we're going to replay this. Who are you picking as your World Cup winner?
I'm going to be honest. I really want England to win. Like, I was looking at it, it's been New Zealand, and New Zealand are clinical, and they have, you know, the best players in the world. A lot of the girls I play against in sevens are playing there, but I just think it's so cool right now what England has been doing with their game, and they've been offering, you know, bigger contracts for the girls to go play 15s and to grow that game, and with the Premiership there. So with how much work they're putting in, I think they have a great shot at it. If it's not them, it'd be cool if it was like an underdog like France or Canada just came out to show. So, but I'm going for England. I'm going for your home.
Going with the safe pick. She's going with the safe pick is what we're saying. No, beautiful. I do think New Zealand are a bit of a dark horse because they're at home and crowd, haka vibes, like intensity, have the backs to play. I just don't think New Zealand's forwards are going to be able to hang with England's. Like, from seeing the way Wales munched that New Zealand scrum a little bit too, that's probably my only red flag for the Black Ferns.
Yeah. But it would be great if we saw New Zealand and England in the final. I mean, the vibes in Eden Park will be amazing. So, who knows?
You're going to be there, aren't you?
I'm going to be there. I'll be there cheering both on, but secretly I'm hoping England, you know, pulls it out.
Well, we'll be looking forward for all the TikToks and reels popping off from when you're in New Zealand.
They will be, yeah.
But Lo, thanks so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, all your insight as well. Good luck with everything, and then make sure you check out her watch party next weekend. And that's a wrap on this week's show. Big thank you again to all our guests for coming on. Great insight, great discussions, and a big thank you to all for your continued support. We really appreciate it. Keep liking, sharing, favoriting, retweeting, telling your friends about the pod. We're going to keep covering the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand as it keeps developing across our channels on NBC Sports, and the same with Premiership Rugby. We're going nowhere. A big sorry as well to anyone outside of the US that's been trying to watch this show on YouTube. We have been geo-restricted the last 2 weeks. We're trying to address that. We're not putting footage in, so fingers crossed from this show. Hopefully you're watching it on YouTube, but if not, going forward, we will be back up and running in YouTube. But from Alex Corbisiero, all of us at NBC Sports, we'll see you again next time.